Well, I'm wearing my Life is Good shirt today. It's a beautiful day. Now, if I told you everything going on, you may not say that your life is good, but I can say life is good even when situations are not good. So I choose to be in the land of the living, be thankful that I'm in the land of the living today. So I've been doing a little studying, well, actually not today. I've been studying on a subject for many years. It's a big subject. I'm just going to throw something out there. Just crazy. I can do that. Get you thinking. But have you ever thought about in the Bible, especially the New Testament, it talks a lot about there being an elect of God. An elect of God. Then it talks about a remnant seed of God. So who is the elect? So you can ask that to different people from whatever their religious thoughts are, or their doctrine, I would say, is. But I would just say this, what I have discovered that it may be a lot more simple than what we think. It's pretty much there. So if you're talking about when he talks about the word elect in the Old Testament, well, it's very clear. Israel had said, or Jacob, and he was changed to Israel. He said, you are Israel, or Jacob, mine elect. And so it's several times he talks about that Israel, the children of Israel, the descendants of Abraham were his elect, right? And so what does that mean they were his elect? Does that mean they were just elected, those are his favorite people in the world for no reason? He just picks them, and God has always had just a special group of people that he picked? Well, that would kind of go against what Apostle Peter said when he went to Cornelius, and he dawned on him through a vision the Lord had given him, and then he saw how the Holy Ghost was poured out on the Gentiles as well as the Jews. He said, I perceive that God is no respecter of person. And I can tell you that God has never been a respecter of person, but he is a respecter of promise. That's what he's a respecter of. He respects his promises. And so he had made a promise to a man named Abraham. And he said, Abraham, I'm electing you for a duty, basically. And how many of you know he's elected people over the years for certain purposes? I believe elect of God just means God elects you for a purpose. And so it starts off with the first purpose you see this election was this man named Abraham. And then he said, you and your seed, you and your descendants. He said, I'm going to make a promise. I'm electing you to do something that's you and your people. It's for a purpose. And he said, here's the purpose, is that out of your seed, all the nations of the earth will be blessed. All the nations, and that word nation is races. All the races, all the people of the world is going to be blessed because I'm going to take a remnant and I'm going to do something special with you. And then everybody's going to see who you are, that you're the children of the most high God, that you don't worship idols like the rest of people, or you're just not, just trying to figure out who God is. But I'm going to show you who I am through a series of events that I'm going to bring you through. I'm going to give you a land that's going to be yours, and I'm going to do all these things, that these promises. I'm going to give you the tabernacle. I'm going to be with you. I'm going to come down in Shekinah glory. I'm going to give you 10 commandments. I'm going to give you kings. Well, actually elected the kings, but I'm going to give you prophets, and I'm going to give you elders and people. And so he did all these things, and he said, but through this, the people of the world are going to be blessed. Okay, so that's the Old Testament, who the elect was for a purpose. They were elected to be the ones that would bless the nations. Well, you jump over to the New Testament, which is now you have Jesus show up, and now he's going to fulfill this in a way. He says, now I've come to my elect, but out of my elect, the Jews, I'm going to take a remnant. So you have the elect, and then you have an elect out of the elect. You have a remnant out of it. And Jesus came, and I think it was Ezekiel prophesied this, and Jesus quotes it. He talks about how that he was going to separate like sheep and goats, or from cattle. He talked about how that these wicked shepherds, the leaders he put over them, had abused his people, and how he was going to come and he was going to do what they was not doing. They weren't being a good shepherd for them. They abused them. They used them. They didn't feed them, but they ate them. They didn't go out after them. He said they didn't, when they were scattered on the dark days and the stormy days, they didn't go out and get them. They just let them go. They didn't care. They didn't really care about the sheep that belonged to the master. And he said, there's going to be a day I'm going to come and get my own sheep. He became the good shepherd. He did everything he said he was going to do. But when he got here, he said, things have got to be set in order, and I'm going to find a remnant of people. And this was prophesied all through the Old Testament. The last two books of the last book of the Old Testament, Malachi talks about this. He said, when I come, there's a book that's being written, and now this book, there's names in it. That was that book that he was going to look at, and he said, that's the day I'm going to make up my jewels. That's the day I'm going to get my remnant. Well, that's what Jesus did. So when people hear Jesus talking about the elect and separating people from sheep and goats like wheat from tares, well, he's talking about his own people. Look at it. He's not talking Gentiles in any of those parable, any of those things he's talking about in Matthew or wherever. He's always talking to the Jews, and he's talking to them, and he said, I'm going to separate you. And I came here now. I'm the good master that's coming to take the harvest back. Like the parable he talked about there, that he came and they just killed all the messengers, and finally said, I'll send my son to go and get what's mine. But he said, then they killed the son also. And so he gives them all these pictures of what was going to happen. And the Old Testament prophesied it. Jesus showed up. He started separating them out like sheep and goats. And he separated them with this criteria. The part when he talks about sheep and goats, wheat and tares and all that, what was the criteria? What was the criteria? The criteria is when I was sick, you took care of me. When I was in prison, you visited me. When I was naked, you clothed me. When I was hungry, you fed me. And so he says, now you that didn't do those things, this is what's going to happen to you. You're fixing to have a time of torment. Time of torment. You're going to have this lake of fire that's going to happen to you. And the other ones were going to come on into this new kingdom. He didn't say you're going to go to heaven. He said you're going to come into the kingdom, which Jesus had just come to establish. So those people, the elect, was going to be the elected Jews that were going to be the ones that he was going to start the new covenant with. He took out of the old and started anew. But the rest of them, there was a purification time. And it was prophesied over and over that there was going to be a time that certain Jews were going to be blinded. And the ones that were not blinded is his elect. It's just that simple. There are the Jews when he got there that seen, he goes, if you know my Father, you know me. Right? If you see the Father, you're not blinded. You see, because they had kept the heart. They were the ones that Malachi had talked about, prophesied. Those are the ones that stayed true to Jehovah God and did not get blinded by the God of this world. The ones Jesus was angry at was the Jews that were blinded by the God of the world, which he said is the God of your belly. It's your own fleshly desires. They desired the praises of man more than the praises of God. They desired their high places in the seats. They desired their money. They desired their prestige. They had so much pride. And when he challenged them on it, they got behind doors and made plans to kill him. That prophecy was going to come true too. But those are the ones that he said this generation will not pass. This generation is not going to pass before there's not going to be one stone left on another. There's going to be a day of suffering like never before. It was going to be the great dividing point. And Jesus was 30 years old when he started his ministry. He said, I'm giving you a generation which is 40 years. 30 plus 40 is 70. Do the math. Look and see your history. What happened in 70 AD? What happened at the end of that generation, the end of that world, the end of that age? That's exactly what happened. They were divided. The believing Jews ran to the mountains like he told them to get out of Dodge. But the other ones were just going back to Jerusalem to do the Passover because they did not believe that Jesus was the Lamb of God that took away the sins of the world. The last sacrifice had been made at Calvary, but they just kept on going every year and doing the sacrificial stuff. And when there was no presence there, God had already ended that world, that age. But now they kept doing it, and they were destroyed in a time like never before. 70 AD was the end of the age for the Judaism. Look it up. You can find it. It's powerful. God's elect was the Jews that were not blinded. The others perished. It said, you shall perish if you don't believe. The word perish means die. It didn't say they went to hell. It said they perished. And it's exactly what happened. And I'm just touching on a huge subject. Hopefully, I can get to talk more about it. Or if you're interested, let me know, because I've got some other stuff on this I can share. Hey, I hope you're having a great day.